Boy, Bright, everybody's got that big smile on their face this morning. Looks so good. It's all right. Okay, Washington County Commissioners Court is now in session Tuesday, June 25th, 2024, 9 a.m. Commissioner Hanneth, would you introduce our pastor for us, please, and have the privileges?
We have Reverend Ross Sheldon from First Baptist of Brenham.
Would you, Philette, will you join me in prayer? Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for this county that we live in. God, thank you for those who are serving our county in the different ways. Thank you for our elected officials. Thank you for our county workers. Thank you for our first responders. Thank you for all the different ways the people in this room serve our county. And I thank you, Lord, for each of them, and I thank you for their families. I pray for our leaders today. In this time, I pray you give them wisdom to know what is right. God, I also pray, as always, that you give them courage to do what is right as well. And I pray this with consideration and respect to all people here. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Join me in saying the pledge to our flags. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the Texas flag? Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Item number 3, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of the Washington County Sheriff's Office monthly report. Mr. O'Connor? Good morning.
Judge, Commissioners, how are y'all doing today?
Right, how are you, sir?
We don't have a whole lot. Total crimes were up a little bit over last month, actually up over the whole year since January. Burglaries and thefts were up. We had a rash of car burglaries the last few months. We're working on that right now to figure out who's doing that. They've got some people in mind, can't say right now. Citations were down, warnings were up, crashes were down. The reason for all that is because we've spent more time on the back roads trying to find burglars for all these burglary vehicles that have been going on. Arrests were up for us and city throughout total somewhat. Our arrests were up since February, they're up. Average daily population for the jail, 108. And as y'all seen at the booking, it's up since February also. Now, calls to Burton have been a lot slimmer than they usually are. And now for the good stuff, we're down one in the jail. We lost another one in transport yesterday. So we're down 2 in transport, and we're still down 6 on patrol. We do have maybe a couple applications for transport. We have a couple applications for patrol, but they're not looking very promising. And that's about where we stand. So we're just kind of struggling along patrol, trying to fill spots, and because usually we should be operating with 5 deputies on the street at a time. We're operating with 3. So, do what we can with what we got for now. Other than that, that's about it.
Media, you probably don't need to broadcast that too broadly.
Yeah.
All right, well. All right.
Any questions?
No?
We good?
Yes, sir.
We do have donations.
I make a motion to approve the Washington County Sheriff's Office monthly report.
I'll second that motion.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, sir.
Good, thank you.
Item number 4, discuss and possibly act upon to correct the date on seeking RFQs for delinquent tax collections for Washington County property taxes with RFQs due to Washington County Clerk by 10 a.m. on July 12, 2024. Negotiations to begin after July 16, 2024 at 9 a.m. between Washington County and the chosen RFQ provider. The reason for this is we had the incorrect date last week. It was July the 11th. And that's what we voted on, but we need to change that to July the 12th.
So the 12th is what we have in
It's what it's advertised, and that's
Okay.
on everything out there is the 12th.
So we just need a motion to correct that, or?
Right, yes, no, just to correct.
I make a motion to correct the date upon seeking RFQs for delinquent tax collections for Washington County property taxes for RFQs due to Washington County Clerk at 10 a.m. on July 12th. Negotiations to begin after July 16th at 9 a.m. between Washington County and the chosen RFQ.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of the Corps of Engineers Bowie Plan. Commissioner Hannah, if you're familiar with that, you want to elaborate?
Yes, Mr. Meyer from the Corps of Engineers contacted the county to approve this plan, and the reason we're approving this plan is so that if there are any needs for enforcement of the wakes at the lake, they can be enforced, and that will end up in the court system in Washington County. So I have sent this packet to all of the JPs so that they would have an opportunity to review the plan 2 weeks prior to this. I have not heard anything back from the JPs. Judge Wiener said he's on board with it. I've sent it to the county attorney's office. They've reviewed it, so that it's basically a buoy plan for Somerville Lake. And you've all had a copy of it now for a while.
So if they give citations, they can be enforced, correct?
Yes.
All right.
I make a motion to approve the Corps of Engineers buoy plan.
I'll second that.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, discuss and possibly act upon the approval to appoint tax assessor collector chief appraiser to calculate no new revenue tax and voter approval tax rate pursuant to tax code 26.04C. That would be, Ms. Diane White is the chief appraiser, the tax assessor collector chief appraiser would do this calculation.
I move upon the approval to appoint tax assessor collector chief appraiser to calculate no new tax revenue tax and voter approval tax rate pursuant to tax code 26.04.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 7, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of health insurance contribution amounts for the October 1st, 2024 renewal. Ms. Milchick?
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners.
Morning.
I provided you with three different options similar to what I did last year. The employee's contribution has not changed for the last 12 years. I would suggest we stay with that. Our insurance rates only went up 4%, which is really good. In your packet, the three different options were to continue with the employee rates as they have been historically for the last few years. That's where you'll see employee-only contribution amount of $16.24. The other option was to split the difference. That would increase the employee-only option to $16.88, and so that 4% would be split between the employee and the county. And then the other option was to give, of course, the entire increase to the employees, which was significant since the county pays 98%, sliding that entire increase to the employee actually increased their contribution from $16.24 to $50.36 per month.
So if we split the difference, it's $16.88.
Yes, sir. It's a 4% increase to the employee and to the county, or 2% basically, but we keep the percentage breakdowns that we had before.
And so your recommendation is to split it? Or
My recommendation would be either to split it or to keep what we have had historically. We haven't changed the employee contribution amounts for the last 12 years. That we've kind of established a precedent. If we were going to change that, I would suggest going with the splitting the difference.
Because the difference is basically 60 cents.
To the employee, yes, sir.
And that's per pay period,
That's per month.
per month.
That's actually the monthly contribution. Per pay period, it would be less. This was something that I'd actually suggested last year because splitting that difference just gives, it shares the burden. And it isn't much of a burden to the employee because again, it keeps that distribution. The county covers about 98% of employee-only coverage.
I think splitting the difference is.
I think it's a great option.
It's fair,
Yes, sir.
especially to the taxpayer.
Agreed.
And the employee doesn't, it's not a significant change to their pay. It's 60 cents a month.
For employee-only coverage. Even on the highest level of coverage, employee and family, you're still only looking at, what, $13 and some change per month as an increase.
So if we make this motion, we should make this motion, if we make a motion to split it, we need to put that in the motion
Yes, you would need to.
for that option,
Yes, sir.
to give you direction.
Yes. And so that the judge knows which one to sign.
That's the auction B, actually, isn't it?
I didn't name him, but it's the one where the employee
It's
amount
the
is
second.
1688.
1688,
Yes,
correct.
sir.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the health insurance contribution amounts for the October 1st, 2024 renewal with a split for the payment between the county and the employee.
Split the increase.
Split the increase.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 8, presentation of the following monthly reports. The county clerk's report.
Okay, do you want to go through this or just look at it?
Well, I'm sure you have some highlights you'd like to point
Okay,
out.
okay, funds taken in, you'll go to the, pictures, yeah, that should be the last.
I do not.
Okay. Back to the front, okay. Almost there, okay, that's the funds taken in. It's amazing that this year has been almost every month nearly exactly the same. I don't think I've ever had a year where it's been that consistent. Usually we have one, larger month, and then we have a month that's, not as good. I mean, it just zigzags around. But it's been fairly consistent. And then across the board, across the last 6 years, would be, to the next one, probably, yeah, that one. 2020, of course, that was, COVID year, so that one's kind of an anomaly, but the other years have been very similar. Then going to the official records filed, what's interesting about this is that, we'll go some days with maybe 15 to 25 or 30 documents filed, and then we'll get hit with, 70 or 100. And that happened to us last Friday afternoon. So, it's just, it's when the title companies have closings and when they do line brings easements in a whole bunch of the time, stuff like that. But they're all good customers. The official records over the last 5 or 6 years, it is a definite drop from the last 2 years. And I think that, indicates that, real estate probably is moving quite as the pace that we had agreed. Plats, we had a few more plats filed in May than April. and that's easing its way up, but again, not nearly what we've had the last few years. We may not surpass that unless there are some subdivisions in the pipe that are coming in, which I don't know about that. But, criminal cases, we had over 80 disposed and about 50 filed, so they're disposing more than they are taking in. That's criminal cases. And then also it's a dip in criminal cases as well over the last 6 years that have been filed and disposed. That's the larger blue line one. That's a little bit bolder. That's about right at 8. Okay, civil cases filed, we had about 6 or 7 disposed, but we had 16 filed. And I think we got some judgment nice yesterday, so on some of the bonds. Those are when people don't show up for criminal cases, then you have a judgment nice issued, and that's a bond forfeiture case, and so the county takes that bond when they don't show up. Okay, moving to guardianship cases, we have 3 guardianship cases filed in May, and there's just a few filed this year, but those are very work intensive. I will say lots of issuances, lots of hearings, and some of them are quite extensive. Active guardianships for the month of May, we have 274 for the month, so that for May, so that's kind of edging up again a little bit too. Probate cases filed, we had about 16 filed, and that's been a little bit more than the last couple of years. And those two can be more work intensive, more to them. We find that over the years I've seen a trend of cases, probate and guardianship becoming much more complicated, and different sides all have their attorneys and things like that. So for births for the month, we had about 25 births recorded in Washington County, which is a dip down from May of last year. We sold a little over 150 birth certificates. We had 30 deaths in the county. And that's a little bit trending upward over the last few years, with, of course, 2020 being the year of COVID that kind of stands out. We sold 40 death certificates. We sold 20 marriage licenses, and that has been about the same as 2023, but a little less than 2022. Per Medium online, we had about 14 requests of those, and the fraud alert, we had just a little over maybe 17 or 18 sign up for that, and then the registrations for that are nearing 1,500 on the fraud alert. So that's my report.
On the guardianship, in 2023, we had a discussion in budget about cleaning that up, and it looks like, according to this chart that you've given us, that it's really been cleaned up. Is that what's happened there?
Well,
because it looks like you have less of them. Because remember, we had some on the books that probably didn't need to be on there,
Yeah.
and y'all were cleaning that up.
Yeah, you know, it's not really the county clerk's job
No, I know.
to review those cases. But I have been kind of assisting with that over
Yeah.
the years, kind of to checking mainly the bond money to see if there's any that warrants that have been deceased, or maybe the guardian has deceased or moved somewhere else, and they need to step up their reporting, or, you know, just these cases we're looking at a little bit more often than we're able to do that.
But it looks like, according to the chart, it looks like we've cleaned up quite a few.
Yeah. That was when the OCA came through and audited that second time. They gave us a list, and then the judge and we worked that list to get those get those closed out. I try to look through the bonds twice a year, but I'm not always able to do that. I don't know that I'm gonna be able to, this
Yeah.
summer, but,
It just looks
it
good.
would be
It looks
nice
better.
to have a, person in there reviewing cases, you know, that, it's just, you know, it's a very busy court system, for sure, very busy court system.
It's just money. Right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you look at the docket, a lot of days, our court, you know, they have to hear civil, they hear criminal, it's a fruit salad of case types, and it's, the direction they have to change and go in is amazing, and, it's.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. in
There's a
there.
lot of moving parts, and everybody's doing the best job they can. I'm convinced of that.
Okay. Any other discussion? Thank you. Okay, district clerk's report.
I know that they've been very busy in that office because they've been doing some catch-up, so I appreciate all the work that's being done in that office. I know that Ms. Blakey is not here, but I know I've heard that through the grapevine, so we appreciate the effort.
And Shannon, do I get this right? This may not be a complete report this time, but this is what they could get to so far. Is that correct? Well, they, in a short period of time, they got to a lot. Okay, Justice of the Peace report. Questions or comments about the Justice of the Peace report? Okay, Auditor's report. Thomas?
Good morning. So I have a little graph on the sales tax collected for May in the past 4 years. For 23 and 24, it's about the same. There was just a 1% increase over last year. So this year in May, we collected $474,752, and last year it was $469,488. The next one after that should be the ARPA funds, and I just updated it with since the purchase of the ATS building, and there was a technology purchase as well since the last report. And so allocated to projects is 48%, machinery and equipment, 24% has been used to purchase that kind of things. Technology, 16%. Unallocated is 7%, but I do think we're gonna need some of that allocation to go towards remodel and different things, so probably that number's gonna change. And then professional services is 5%. For the year, the revenue and expenditures should be about 58%. For revenue, the general fund is at 51.63, remaining to collect. Most of that'll come in October, November, and December with tax collections. The same with road and bridge, they're at 59.53%. Expenses, general fund is at 51.94 remaining to spend, and road and bridge, or EDS, sorry, 58.53%. And that's all I have for this report.
We appreciate you including the ARPA funds in your report because we need to know when those are, when we have all of that allocated. So appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it won't take long. Okay, tax assessor collector's report, Ms. Gaskin.
Good morning.
Morning.
We did have, in the month of May, on May 30th, we had a statewide outage for Department of Motor Vehicles. And that caused us to not be able to work that day. We were there to make sure as soon as they came up that we were available. But that day, our deposit was only $374.50. So we had to do catch-up the next day since it was the end of the month. And then I think some of the totals will carry over into June.
Do you know why it was out? Or did they just have some?
They said a cable was cut.
Oh.
Yeah.
Questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, the constable's report. Oops, I missed it, excuse me. Marked one too far. Treasurer's report, so sorry. Well, you know, if you weren't quite ready, I couldn't tell if you were ready or not.
Okay. All right, I'll let that one go.
Okay.
Good morning. Everything on mine comes out. We have $42.5 plus million in investments. We're doing quite well with those. They're all in the 4 or 5% range right now, which is great. Some of them are longer term than others. We're trying to do a little strategizing in case rates do happen to go down later this year as indicated. And of course, I've added in the report for the bonds that are pledged to us from Bank of Brenham. So, but everything balances. It looks good. Interest rate is going up. The money is. Do you have a question?
No, I just think that we talked about the finance committee meeting, and I think we probably need maybe
Agreed.
maybe next month sometime.
Okay.
Or either better part of this week, whatever you can
Okay.
make happen.
Sure.
Questions or comments? Okay, now, the constable's report. Questions or comments about the constable's report? Okay, elections report. Ms. Jackson will not be here to give her report today. Look at that. Questions or comments about the election report? Okay, Veterans report. Prashant?
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. So we have our monthly report today, and I'm also going to be able to give you our 2023 annual report, how that came out with the Department of Veterans Affairs as far as our overall numbers. But first, the monthly report, we had 258 contacts, which was quite a bit above average, as well as 71 forms completed on behalf of veterans or their dependents. We folded 3 flags for veterans Marvin Swearingham, Ralph Conway, and William Hack. to look at the annual report. So these numbers come, you could go back, that one, right there. These numbers come from the Department of Veterans Affairs. If you look to the left at the top of the table, it has veterans population, it has 1,894. That number bothers me because it is based on a model. And it starts with a number from the U.S. Census back in 2020. And they use criteria to adjust the number that they came up with at the census in 2020. If you look at other models, that number goes up. I have seen that number as high as 2,500 veterans for Washington County based off of a 5 to 7% of the population, which is, I'm tracking a population of Washington County as about 37,000 right now. So I would like to say that 1,894 number is a bottom number of a range that goes up to 2,500.
Pretty significant.
It's
Of a
pretty
range.
significant.
I don't like that it's that much of a range, but that's the highest number that I've seen. I would like to have it closer, but I don't think that this number of 1,894 is very reliable, because what the VA doesn't do is they didn't project the changes in migration across the country post-COVID, and they didn't anticipate the changes from, or rather a reversal of urbanization to more ruralization, going from a larger city to a smaller environment like Brenham and Washington County that we've seen from Harris County. I have seen that in people that have come to my office. So I would like to say that the 1,894 is a bottom line number. The next one that we have, total expenditures, we went up to $24,683,000 as far as what the VA is spending on our veteran population, our U.S. government. And then to the right of that, you have compensation and pension, education and voc rehabilitation, insurance, medical care, and unique patients. Unique patients separately, but those other numbers, starting with the $14,709,000 and the medical care, those all are rolled up into the total expenditures. Underneath this, we have,
Mr. Preston, excuse me.
Judge,
Could you explain the unique patients?
unique patients is just, those are veterans that are choosing to use the VA as their health care system. You'll see that that number will go up if you look at the charts. The closer that we are to VA medical facilities. So if we were in Brazos County or Montgomery County even, we would probably have a much higher number than that. But Washington County, unfortunately, or not unfortunately, sits between the
Travel quite a ways to do
the major locations where clinics and hospitals are for the VA.
that. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So when they do the $24 million number, are they gauging that off of 1,894 people, or are they gauging that off of the 25 number? Because, and is that 24 million, that's Washington County, right?
That's Washington County, yes, sir.
So, just so I'm clear, the 24 million is for 1,894 people. Is that what
No.
is that what this is saying, or is it more
No.
closer to the 2,500?
Good question, but the 24,683 is just based off of the benefits that are used. So you could have a population that exceeds that number, 1,894, that isn't reflected at all. That 1,894 isn't necessarily completely reflected in the 24,683,000. That's just that is the number, and the VA doesn't specify. It doesn't break it out like that, and they probably should, of how many veterans are actually using that benefit.
Yes, because look, this is my problem.
Yeah.
I would like to know what the average veteran is getting compensated in our community for all of these benefits. We can't get that number from this document on an annual basis.
I could break that out for you, sir, but it would just be an average, but you couldn't infer that average is actually going to every veteran in
Yeah.
Washington County.
But you would have an average,
You
right?
could.
Because some are actually probably very little bit of it, but others a whole lot larger. So you could not divide your veteran population into the total expenditure and get an accurate average.
I wouldn't think, because there are many veterans that choose on purpose and intentionally not to use the VA.
That's exactly.
Uh,
We have a question.
Yeah. No. The- That is, the unique patients is specifically for VA healthcare. There are a lot of veterans, so say it's 65 and older, that there are a lot that may use VA as a form of healthcare, but they may also use Medicare. Or they may use just Medicare.
So you can't do that because it's not all medical expenses. So it's not very
The
expensive.
total number is the total expenses for content, pension, for education, for all of those things. The 24,000 is balled up into that number. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Purcell. I just kind of, it seems like we would want to know that figure, what our average compensation is for our veterans, because you do a good job of meeting with these veterans and getting them the help they need. It would also be nice to know how we are comparable to other counties in terms of these numbers.
Have you checked any other counties about their veteran population? Do they seem like they're happier with their population count more so than you are?
I don't know that they question it or really go into looking into their population number. It's just something that just, when I looked at that number, because it's gone down quite a bit since the 2020 census, I just, and I know that we've had an influx of people into Washington County. It just didn't make sense that it was going down that much.
Exactly.
So I looked into it, and it's based off a model that doesn't consider an updated migration to Texas and certain parts of Texas.
All right.
So we'll have to wait for the next census.
We have up to years to wait, unfortunately.
Just saying.
The next slide is as of the last day of May, and that includes, if you scroll up just a little bit there, that includes the number and how our forms and contacts average out for 2024 over the last 5-year period. You have a look into what that is.
Up to 241. That's not say, see many people who take that and call. No.
Well, some of it is group contacts. Like I intentionally go see the DAV, the VFW, the American Legion every month.
No? It's good content. That's good.
So it may not be one-on-one. Maybe I'm just passing out information to a group of veterans.
Okay. Good job.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you. Item number 9, discuss and possibly act upon awarding the bid for HVAC system for the Washington County Sales Facility building. Raven?
Judge, Commissioners, I see the light at the end of the tunnel on this project, and I'm hoping you guys agree with me. We went out for bids to replace the HVAC system in the Washington County Expo sales facility. We looked at several different options, and the option we're proposing is the best route, and it was concurred by many different AC companies. We received 4 bids back. The lowest bid he quoted some equipment that he felt was compatible to what we were asking for, but from history speaking, we've had some very bad luck with that. That's in a building that the county owns. The 2 in the middle, there's $3,400 difference, and we cut this up and really looked through it hard, and we found where the difference was, why he was $3,400 cheaper than the one we're recommending. His concrete slab that the AC units are going to sit on, he made it much smaller, which we definitely didn't want. Then they would all be jammed on the side of that building right there in one little pad, to where we needed to spread them out so it would save us money on connections and electrical. And by spreading them out like that, instead of jamming them all in one, that's why he was a little bit lower than the other one. The company we would like to request you approve is Triple T Refrigeration. They are a local company here in Brenham. They are adequate with and trained to service that stuff, perform all type of warranty and maintenance work, to where if we went with the other company, they're Houston based, and after your warranty's expired is what scares me, and we're into this now with another building. The trip charge, not only the service call, the trip charge to get someone from Houston to come here to perform labor work, which after your warranty is up, some of those parts are still warranted for 10, 15 years, but you still have to pay that labor. So not only do you have to pay that labor, you have to pay that trip charge. That's $800 to $1,000 a pop. So if they make multiple trips, you're on the hook for that. To where here, we just have a standard $142 service call, and it's fixed. But I would request that we approve this so we can get this project going. The equipment's readily available, and we're hoping to have it all done by fair.
Could I just add to that just a little bit, in looking over the 2 bids that you're referring to? The one you're recommending is $3,400 more than the next, the lowest bid. However,
No, the lowest bid was
the
170.
2 that you're referring to, you had
Right.
189 and then 192. No, the lowest is, we know is for Dakin. We
Right.
did not want that.
Okay.
But I'm looking here, I see where the difference came in. First of all, the one you're recommending, Triple T, includes a metal frame raised off concrete pad on all these units, whereas the second bid here did not do that. And also the size of the concrete pad, Triple T has 8 foot by 26 foot, whereas the other one had an 8 by 8. Well, you
Right.
eat up $3,400 in concrete there very, very easily. So
Yes, sir.
So it's actually, I would say that the bid that seems to be $3,400 more is actually cheaper. So if you look at apples to apples.
I believe in staying local if we can. I seen it at the road bridge building where it happened. We should have never done that.
Yeah. That little bit of cost, that little $3,400 that we're gonna spend that extra on, it will recover that in no time.
So with that all being said, I'll move upon awarding bid for HAV system for the Washington County Sales Facility building.
I think you need to read the amount
Right.
in that motion.
And who you're awarding it to.
And it's going to Triple T For how much?
$192,984.
192,
484.
484.
I'll second it. I have a question. You said that it's hoped to get it done before fair. We've had a problem with this air conditioner for 2 years at the fair, this air conditioning system. So I think what also needs to be noted here is there's going to be some work done to remove some old stuff in the building, correct?
Right.
And work and all of that. It's not just an air conditioning unit. 'Cause
Right.
There could be some misunderstanding that we're just putting an air conditioning unit for this amount. There's a lot of work that has to be done to take in those ducts and all the other work that goes along with replacing this unit. So it is something that we are understanding not to be as inexpensive as we would like, but we do understand that we've been having problems with this air conditioning
Major
system.
problem, Mr. Hass.
Yes, and it's created some friction between us and our renters, so we need to get it fixed. I just want to make certain that we're going to have it fixed. I don't like the phone calls, just so you know.
All the equipment's readily available, and we're gonna make that deadline one way or another.
Okay. All right.
But just to put you at ease a little bit, the internal duct work will be one of the first, or the later things after they get all the new equipment installed, before I let them take out any of the old stuff. That way, if they work in here, we got some cool air, they work faster. But the equipment's much more readily available than anything else. And there's some restraints on the size of some of the other versions that we looked at between the side of that building and that rodeo pen. Harrison has to have, Mr. Williams has to have at least 15 feet clearance down through there, and with some of those other bigger systems, it would eat that space up. So and he can't move those pins because they're already against the wall on the other side.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 10, discuss
Thank you.
and possibly act upon the approval of accounts payable.
Okay, this week, only $263,930.79. Yeah, I know, only is, it is only for us, though. $33,250 of that, there's a correction on the Hughes bill. We're changing it from CARES money to EMS department because the revenue that came in to cover this came in a couple of years ago. So it didn't go into CARES. It went into the EMS funds, the 029. So it has to now be charged to that. So anyway, the only other thing that we paid this month, and it's just our normal quarterly workers' comp payment too. So everything else
And
is.
you had the hotel motel tax payments.
Yes, all of those. Yes, I'm sorry.
15,000.
And that's out of the hotel motel account.
I move upon the approval of accounts payable.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 11.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second that motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned.
I hate to sign it.